Hello and welcome to the Business Standard Morning Show. I'm Ishan Gera and here are the stories for the day.
इस बार मनाली चलते हैं।
नहीं गोवा।
We Indians disagree on everything, but we agree. SBI is the banker to every Indian.
SBI से ट्रैक्टर लोन लिया, पाजी ये 100% सही किया।
SBI is the banker to every Indian.
Grown in rugged northern plains of India, its long, shiny and fragrant grains have long been lifting the mood of people across Europe and West Asia. But India's Basmati rice exports have been witnessing a decline now. It plunged to its lowest level in the last 4 years in 2021. Is Indian Basmati losing its shine, or is it a temporary phase? Watch our next report to know more.
From risotto to Iranian pulao, Indian Basmati has been an essential part of recipes savored in different parts of the world for ages. Basmati rice is popular due to its long grains, distinctive texture and rich fragrance. People world over swear by its taste. In India too, biryani or matar pulao cannot be imagined without Basmati.
साथ रहो लेकिन चिपको मत वरना टूट जाओगे। थोड़ा वक्त दो, अपने आप खिलोगे और महकोगे।
वाह, क्या फिलॉसफी है।
फिलॉसफी? मैं तो चावल की बात कर रहा था।
All of this has made Basmati rice one of India's oldest anchors in farm exports. India is still the world's largest exporter of Basmati, but its export is now coming down. India clocked the highest ever agriculture exports of over $50 billion in FY22. But for the third consecutive year, exports of Basmati rice saw a fall over the previous year in value terms. This fact has been highlighted by the provisional figures. In 2021-22, India exported $3.53 billion worth of Basmati rice, the lowest since 2019-20. Experts have told Business Standard that the reasons for the continued fall in exports include the loss of the traditional market of Iran due to US sanctions. Shipments to Iran plunged 26% from a year ago to 834,458 tons. It was mostly because Iran's rupee reserves dwindled. APEDA chairman M. Angamuthu told Business Standard that in some areas, due to an increase in minimum support price, the Basmati acreage had been overtaken by non-Basmati rice. Its main producing regions are the states of Punjab and Haryana, along with the foothills of the Himalayas. In the last 3 years, around 20% area has shifted from Basmati to non-Basmati rice in these regions. This is due to reduced price differentials.
Though the export was increasing in volume terms and value terms, we have never noticed the fact that our export price earning were stagnant. Number one. Number two, that it is the difference between Basmati paddy price and the MSP were inching closer, which we didn't notice this. Okay, over the period of time, now the situation has come that most of the farmers have started shifting from Basmati paddy to non-Basmati paddy. If the situation has to be arrested, we have to come up with a better Basmati policy planning.
Fungicide problems in the European Union is also a big contributing factor. Trade policy analyst S. Chandrasekaran told Business Standard that Basmati sales to the EU had dropped to 150,000 to 200,000 tons from 500,000 tons a year. One of the most common Basmati rice varieties produced in India does not qualify for duty rebate from the EU. Adding another blow to Basmati export, Oman, Egypt, Jordan, UAE and Saudi Arabia adopted pesticide residue norms in 2021 that were on par with those in the EU. This had led to apprehensions that if Indian farmers were not given time to bring about changes in their pesticide use, Basmati exports would take a big hit due to these stringent norms. India's Basmati exports to the EU have been falling since the region tightened its pesticide residue norms in 2017. But on the other hand, overall rice export has seen a big jump. India is the world's biggest rice exporter. It exports non-Basmati rice to African countries and Basmati to the Middle East. According to a report, India's total rice exports saw a jump of nearly 46% in 2021 from a year ago to a record 21.42 million tons. The jump came as Bangladesh, China and Vietnam increased purchases. Also, the existing challenges in the EU and the possibly new ones in West Asia by no way mean that the appetite for Basmati is dwindling.
There is a fungicide called tricyclosol, which our farmers have been using. Now, our Basmati rice, which is produced, which is not meeting the European Commission's norm on tricyclosol. So this is affecting our exports since 2011-12. Basmati being a staple food in Gulf, the exports to Gulf will not fall. And another thing you have to note that after Ukraine war, the oil prices have gone up. The earning of Gulf countries have also gone up. So the imports will not fall, but they will try to negotiate the prices. Okay, you have to come up with some smart solution on this. Particular pesticide or particular fungicide is there. Okay. You have to work closely with that R&D community of it, and you have to find out an alternative molecule on this.
Basmati is one of India's signature food items. Efforts should be made to revive its exports, especially since much of the market is slowly shifting towards Pakistan, India's primary rival in the global Basmati trade. But experts point out that the export may pick up soon. Recently, Latin America opened its doors to Indian Basmati rice for the first time ever. Talks between Iran and the US on nuclear agreement also offer hope. If they reach an agreement and sanctions against Iran are lifted, export of Indian Basmati to Tehran will restart.
सब अच्छी दिख रही हैं यार, कौन सी खरीदूं?
ये तो वही बात हुई, 4000 शेयर्स लिस्टेड है, कौन सा लूं?
वो तो सबसे आसान है।
तुझे 5 पैसा नहीं पता?
अब तो सबको पता है। 5 पैसा पर है 4000 स्टॉक्स की रिसर्च, टेक्निकल टूल्स और इन्वेस्टमेंट आइडियाज। डाउनलोड 5 पैसा नाउ।
अब तो सबको पता है, investing made easy and rewarding with 5 paisa. Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.
The spell of Indian movies is no less heady than the recipes made of Basmati. Director S.S. Rajamouli's RRR breached the 1,000 crore collection mark on Monday by bringing the audience back to movie theatres. And several other promising movies are lined up for the release in the next few days. Will they be able to recreate the magic and give the box office its old days back? Watch our next report to know more.
Propelled by the movie RRR, directed by S.S. Rajamouli of Bahubali fame, the Indian box office saw one of its best post-pandemic months in March. The period action drama was instrumental in bringing back audiences to theatres and registered the best global opening day by any Indian film. In just over 2 weeks of release, RRR has grossed Rs 1,000 crore at the worldwide box office. It had helped Bollywood cross 500 crore rupees in box office collections in March, along with movies such as The Kashmir Files, Bachchan Pandey, Radhe Shyam and Jhund. In the pre-pandemic year of 2019, the average monthly gross box office collection of Bollywood was about 400 crore rupees. If this was the action in March, industry analysts say April promises to be as much exciting, going by advanced booking trends and a strong lineup of movies. They say the industry is witnessing what can be termed revenge consumption after months of COVID-19 restrictions. This month's biggest releases are the Kannada film KGF Chapter 2 and Vijay's Tamil film Beast. Both the movies, just like RRR, will hit the screens this week in 5 regional languages including Hindi. April will also see the theatrical release of Hero Panti 2, Runway 34 and Shahid Kapoor's Jersey, which is remake of the 2019 movie of the same name. The dominance of South Indian cinema showcased during the first 4 months of 2022 is a continuation of last year. In 2021, South Indian films generated 3 times the box office revenues of Hindi films, with a total collection of 2,400 crore rupees on the back of more releases. Around 58% of the total box office revenues of rupees 3,900 crore last year were contributed by regional language films.
Right. If you look at this month specifically, there has been a 25 to 30% growth in terms of box office revenue. I think, going ahead, there is still a strong content pipeline. We have close to about 6 to 7 large Hindi film releases, about 3 to 5 large Hollywood releases, and there are also multiple regional language films that have been slated to release right now. So if you look at some of the names, typically, I think Hindi, the larger names are, KGF2, Jersey, Runway 34, Bhool Bhulaiya, Maidan, Prithvi Raj, Chuk Chuk Jio. I think these are all films by the larger actors, and most of them are large budget films that are there. We also have very strong Hollywood content pipeline over the next 6 months. We've got Avatar 2, we've got Doctor Strange, we've got Jurassic World, Thor, MI7, Black Panther. So it's looking like a very promising content pipeline, at least until December. And I think this growth momentum is going to increase from here on. So I think if you exclude the month of Jan and Feb, which were largely shut, I think if you compare from a March to December standpoint, the revenues will definitely cross pre-pandemic levels. You may see a growth of close to about 15-20% because the content pipeline is phenomenally strong. I think you'll see a sharp reversal again this time around, wherein Hindi will come back very strong. If you look at pre-pandemic numbers, Hindi contribution to overall box office is somewhere close to about 55 to 60% and I think this year, given the kind of pipeline we have, we will at least breach 50% contribution in terms of Hindi.
Data from consultancy firm Ormax Media shows the Indian film industry grossed rupees 10,949 crore in 2019. 2020 saw an 81% drop in box office collections. Aided by the last quarter, 2021 figures bounced back slightly but recovered to only 34% of the pre-pandemic level. With releases like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Jurassic World Dominion, Bhool Bhulaiya 2, Maidan and Prithvi Raj scheduled in May and June, there is no stopping the box office party this year. Despite the first 2 months being a washout, the strong growth in the rest of the year means 2022's box office collections should come close to the 2019 number if not equal it.
यार मत पूछ यार, फिर से स्टॉक्स में फंस गया।
तो स्टॉक्स के साथ बॉन्ड्स, इंश्योरेंस, गोल्ड में बैलेंस कर।
इसमें बहुत तामझाम है।
तुझे 5 पैसा नहीं पता?
अब तो सबको पता है। 5 पैसा है ऑल इन वन अकाउंट। डाउनलोड 5 पैसा नाउ।
अब तो सबको पता है। Investing made easy and rewarding with 5 paisa. Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.
After the box office revenue, let us move on to the earnings of India Inc., which has begun reporting the numbers of March quarter. While brokerages expect the earnings of Nifty 50 companies to hit record peak levels, the March is expected to be driven by banks and financial. Let's take a dive into what the street is expecting from the fourth quarter results of public and private banks and what are the key things to watch out for. Tata Group firm TCS began the March quarter results season for Nifty 50 companies yesterday. On an aggregate basis, brokerages expect the combined net profit of the companies in the 50-pack index to grow by 29% on a year-on-year basis to an all-time high of 1.61 trillion rupees, from around 1.25 trillion a year ago. The combined net sales of the index companies, meanwhile, is expected to grow by 32% to 14.18 trillion rupees in the fourth quarter of FY22, from 10.76 trillion a year ago. A large part of this growth, analysts say, would be driven by banking, finance, insurance or BFSI companies. Banks in particular are expected to put up an impressive fourth quarter show with systemic loan growth seen in double digits and asset quality staying stable.
The banking sector is expected to report yet another strong quarter led by higher loan growth and moreover lower provisioning and improving asset quality would help the bank post higher growth in net profit as well. And we expect large private sector banks to outperform the smaller ones, in terms of the loan growth and PSBs, which were in the limelight in the Q3, are expected to remain focused in the Q4 as well as they have been reporting steady rise in the PAT from the last 7 quarters. But at the same time, one need to be cautious in the PSB space because we are seeing underperformance by several stocks. So one need to be very selective in that space.
Deepak Jasani of HDFC Securities too says that investors need not worry about the banking sector's earnings this time.
Overall, we are expecting decent numbers, especially the PSU banks will show a very good number because of asset quality remaining quite steady and a lot of provisions being written back. So that is as far as PSU banks are concerned. Otherwise, on an industry-wide basis, I think credit growth has started to pick up lately. So that will show up in the loans growth as well as in the NII to some extent. Deposit rates have sort of started to inch up, but very minorly, so it's not going to hurt them in any big way. And otherwise, I think MTM losses there may be some MTM losses on their trading portfolios, bond trading portfolios, because of the yield rise between the two dates. But broadly, I think banks as a sector will perform well this time.
Analysts peg net interest income, pre-provision operating profit and net profit growth for the entire sector at 19%, 6% and 93% year-on-year. Industry credit loans, meanwhile, may swell nearly 13% year-on-year, driven by growth across segments, particularly in unsecured retail, SME and housing finance segments. If one were to analyze the sector in terms of private and public banks, analysts at Kotak Institutional Equities expect the private players under their coverage to report about 21% year-on-year and 6% sequential growth in net interest income. Improvement in profit after tax, meanwhile, is seen at 86% year-on-year and 6% quarter-on-quarter, led by Bandhan Bank, up 978% year-on-year, RBL Bank 226%, ICICI Bank 64% and Axis Bank 51%. Public sector banks, on the other hand, are likely to experience continued traction in their operating performances, supported by recovery in business growth and a sustained reduction in provisions. Slippages could continue to subside, which along with healthy recoveries would reinforce the asset quality performance. Overall, PSBs are likely to deliver net interest income growth of around 20%. PAT growth is seen at 100% year-on-year and 19% quarter-on-quarter, led by Canara Bank up 100%, Punjab National Bank up 98% and State Bank of India up 66%. That said, while analysts believe forward flow into the delinquency bucket would likely be restricted in the fourth quarter of FY22, analysts expect behavior of ECLGS lending pool and restructured portfolio would be the key to watch.
3 key things that they have to look after is the trends in the NPAs and slippages is one. Second is their loan growth and NII trends. And the third is your CASA ratio, the behavior of the CASA ratios.
In a nutshell, the fourth quarter of FY22 will likely be characterized by stability and normalization after several quarters of volatility. NIMs, slippages and credit costs are likely to remain stable. Recoveries and upgrades may also outpace fresh slippages and gross NPAs could decline. On Tuesdays, markets will react to TCS's fourth quarter results, which were announced after market hours on Monday. That apart, Anand Rathi Wealth and GM Breweries will be among the 6 companies set to announce their March quarter results today. Among macro triggers, the Domestic Index of Industrial Production (IIP), along with Consumer Price Index (CPI), reading for both India and US will be released later today.
क्या किया?
शेयर्स में ट्रेडिंग।
तुम्हें 5 पैसा नहीं पता?
ओए, अब तो सबको पता है। 5 पैसा पर मिलते हैं रिसर्च टूल्स, पोर्टफोलियो एनालिटिक्स और इन्वेस्टमेंट आइडियाज भी। डाउनलोड 5 पैसा नाउ।
अब तो सबको पता है, investing made easy and reporting with 5 paisa. Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.
Soaring energy prices are not just spooking the stock markets and the economies, they're also nudging countries into looking for more oil reserves. Fracking is one of the ways to extract gas and oil. What is it and why is it controversial? Watch our next report to find out.
Soaring energy prices due to Russian invasion of Ukraine has prompted the UK government to explore alternative ways. It has now asked the British Geological Survey's view on shale gas fracking. The British government said that all options are on the table as it tries to reduce the country's reliance on imported energy. Britain had imposed a moratorium on the controversial practice of fracking in 2019 after protests by environmental groups and community activists. The technology has transformed the US into the world's top oil and gas producer in the last decade. The growth in the extraction of oil and natural gas from shale and similar geologic formations is often referred to as the shale revolution. Hydraulic fracturing, informally known as fracking, is a process that is used to extract natural gas and oil from shale and other types of sedimentary rock formations. This method involves injecting water, sand, and a mix of chemicals under high pressure into horizontally drilled wells, causing the shale to crack and release oil or natural gas. This process creates new fractures in the rock which can extend several hundred feet away from the wellbore. Once the injection process is over, the internal pressure of the rock formation causes fluid to return to the surface through the wellbore. It is typically stored on site in tanks or pits before treatment, disposal, or recycling. At the top of the well on the surface, the natural gas is put into a network of pipelines and sent to processing plants. Advances in horizontal drilling and fracking technologies have made vast reserves of oil and gas in the US commercially viable. Residents, environmental advocates, and some researchers have expressed concerns about potential health effects and environmental impacts on water and air in their communities due to fracking. In some cases, it may be possible for chemicals associated with fracking to travel through cracks in the rock into an underground drinking water source. Water contamination could also occur if a well is improperly installed, or if chemicals are spilled from trucks or tanks, or if flowback is not effectively contained. Flowback happens when water used in the hydraulic fracturing process flows out of the well. Countries across the world, including the US, Canada, and Argentina, allow fracking for oil extraction.
इसको 30 डिग्रीज कर देते हैं। अरे नहीं यार, 45 डिग्री सही है।
We Indians disagree on everything, but we agree. SBI is the banker to every Indian.
SBI का वीडियो KYC सेविंग्स अकाउंट। Finally I agree.
SBI is the banker to every Indian.
Pumping of fluid into rocks at high pressure also triggers minor earthquakes. In 2019, a tremor of 2.9 magnitude was triggered by fracking near the UK's Blackpool area. That's all for today. For more news and analysis, log on to businessstandard.com. We'll be back tomorrow with the next episode. Thank you for watching.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.